Well, look at what arrived in the mail today. Well, actually, by FedEx, and this came from Shenzhen. Took, I guess, slightly, just about a week. Well, let's open this up. I can't wait. This is feeling like looks like Christmas, even though we don't really get anything around here for Christmas. But let's get this thing open. I'm excited, as you can probably tell. Okay, well, this came in the mail. It's a triple power supply from China. It's IT8322 by ITECH. But before we get into it, look at this. Okay, it came like that. That's disconnected. This thing looks like it's out. It's feeling a little bit flimsy. You know, the whole casing looks like it could be falling apart. And I had a screw rolling around. I presume that belongs to this, so I'm gonna have to put this back a little bit before we get started. Not the best start, but well, with things from China, you know, this is sort of what you can expect, I suppose. Give me a couple of minutes to put it together, and then we'll get back to taking a look at this thing a little bit more. All right, I've got a screw in, but it was actually a little bit more involved. Actually, there were two missing screws. One of them was actually underneath here, and this plastic frame, they actually installed it upside down. And what happens is that there's some special insets here for another screw under this panel, this little, I guess, trimming. So they had installed it upside down, and as a result, it could not fit in. All the words, of course, along here, they were printed upside down. So I thought of taking it out, and that was when I realized that actually this was installed upside down. So I looked in the box, and sure enough, there was another screw rolling around in there. So I've got it all screwed now. Okay, now it looks a little bit better, but you know, I'm not terribly inspired at this point of time. But well, you know, the box came with other, let's see, I can get that for you. It came with one of these, which are really looks like meant for Australian plugs, so that's not going to work here. So chuck that one side. It came with these. That's actually the CD, which well, it appears to be some sort of calibration report. Oh, look at that. This is interesting. Let me get this off so we can look at this. Calibration report. Look at that. Output accuracy 0.1 volts on each of the channels. I'm wondering what they're actually, how does this thing go? Measurement limit. Okay, so pass fail doesn't really seem to tell you the actual test value. It seems that they've given some input here, and that appears to be the measured value readout. I'm not sure how this works, but it has this Smith Chang. Okay, what's interesting is that this is not a signature, it's actually printed out. Yeah, it's not even a rubber stamp. It's actually been printed out as part of this thing. So who knows how good this calibration report is. It's December 2016. Okay, well, I don't really care about this. I'm going to check it one side. Came with this big red plastic bag, which I think was only used for packing, but that's about it. That's all it came with. There are no other cables, no power cables. Oh yes, there is a catalog from ITECH. Okay, so let's get going with this thing. Let's see. I can't get to, you know, what does Dave always say? Let's not turn it on. Let's take it apart. I don't know. I always like to turn it on first, just in case I don't manage to put it back together. Okay, let's go on. I'll plug this thing in and let's have a look at it. All right, I'll be back in just a second. Okay, I've got the IC cable plugged in. It came with a sticker that said 220 set to 220 volts AC, which is correct. And This is the moment of truth. I'm plugging it in. Ah, okay. It's connected. It's got a switch here. Okay, I've got something. System test. It appears to be working. I can hear the fan. I'm not sure if you can hear the fan, but I'll go close to this and so maybe you can hear this. So it does have a rather noisy fan. This unit advertises, okay, I'm not getting electrocuted. It advertises that it's got some sort of intelligent fan management. But if this is unloaded, and that's what it sounds like, it could get even noisier. Of course, my Instack sounds a lot louder, right? If I can just kind of look over on this side, that's my Instack. If I turn this on, you can hear that. That's really loud. Right, but that's a good power supply. It's reliable, it's worked well, but right now this is what we are looking at today. So let's have some fun with this guy. Right, let's, well, you know, voltage set. Okay, that's on channel 1. Presumably I can, yeah, it's got this thing here. Can I just like, yeah, just, I can type in 12 volts and where's the enter button? Ah, there. And that's 12 volts. It appears to be blinking. And oh, okay, so this is the measured output. So when you set this voltages, it's actually showing you the set voltage. So how do you actually turn the channel on? Whoa, okay, that turns on all channels. And currently the current set is at 3 amperes. So let's get that down to, that's 0.1. That's the lowest you can go. It's 100 milliamps. Okay, so now with the output on, it's showing 11.998999. Let's just see how accurate is this thing. Okay, you did all those tests we saw earlier. So you can stuff this in here. And actually, on my 6.5 digit DMM4050, it says 12.0003 volts, which is really accurate, but the meter here is probably a little bit off. And what happens if I fiddle with this? Oh, you can't adjust this. Oh no, wait, that's on current mode. So can I change the voltage while it's on? Yep, and that works nicely. We are going to probably play with some of the other stuff, but why are these output voltages set at 0? How do I select a different channel? Let's see. So that was channel 1. Let's try menu. Oh, it's got power config. Can I use this? No, I have to use the arrows. Okay, I'll just take this off. System set, power information, exit menu. Okay, well, let's have a look at what power config does. Outstate set. What is outstate? So it follows your last set state, or off. So I can select, oh, I get it. Okay, so what happens is this thing will remember your last output state. So if you put it to this and you turn off the power when it's still, the output is active, it will remember the last set state. But normally you want it to come on in off state, just in case you blow something, I suppose. Okay, no, okay, you've done that. You hit enter and you're back out here. You don't want to reset config. Out parameter, what is that? I have no idea what out parameters are, but I presume it's your settings. So you set it, your voltage, your current. Let's leave it there. Key sound, yeah, I like the key sound. Not function set. What options do you have? Or you can turn off the knob, but why would you want to do that? Maybe to lock out itchy hands, maybe. Screen brightness, yeah, let's turn, right now it's 100, look, this is 100, so let's see what 20, oh, that's barely visible actually. If I turn off this, you can barely see it on camera, that's 25%. So I'm going to move it up to 50%, this is 50%, let's see, 50%, and this is 75%, and this is 100%. I have not removed the plastic on this face here. Maybe I should do that, you think? But how do I get this out from behind this? Okay, I'll worry about that later. It's not very bright, but you know, VFDs typically not the brightest display. Baud rate. Okay, now it's got a serial port at the back. You might have seen that early on. I'm not sure if it's TTL or it's a full RS-232. I intend to modify that, but that's a project for another day. Let's leave it there. Communications parity. Okay, so you have your 8N1 or whichever that you prefer. I'll leave it there. Don't change that. System wait time. I have no idea what that is. Leave that there. Local address. What is local address? What on earth is a local address? Is it like for GPIB? Key lock set. Okay, let's exit this. Let's look at what the system set does. Let's see. Out series set. Okay, I don't want it to be out series. That's good. So you have options of these different configurations, paralleling the output and all that. I don't want to mess with all that. Max voltage set. First channel, second channel, third channel, you can limit the max voltage. In this case, it's 31 volts. Can I make it go higher? No, you can make it go lower though. So if you don't like 31 volts and you don't want to accidentally fry your equipment, that might be a good thing to have. Yeah, not a bad idea. Okay, so no. How do I get out of this one? No, let's say I don't want this. How do I get back out of this? Is this it? What happens if how to get out of this part of the menu? Do I hit menu? Oh yes. Well, I guess that's my power config. We were down here. Baud rate, communication, system wait time, local key, and that's it. I think. Okay, system set. Oh, we were playing with this. Max voltage set, out parallel set. Yeah. So back to the menu. Do we have anything? Power information. Power model. Okay. Well, actually, if you look at it, says IT6322. The one I purchased actually might have the B option, which comes with USB and GPIB. This doesn't have it. I will check, and I may have to write back to the seller, but we shall see. We shall see. All right, this is not a critical problem, somewhat to be expected. Exit menu. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I'm going to do some tests to see how much noise you have to, how noisy does this thing get, and whether I can load it up with, like, really. The fan seems like it's getting a little bit louder. You know, I can feel the fan at the back there. Yeah, I can feel it. This nice cool breeze coming out. Now this is 354 mm long, so it's actually longer than my my DMM, so it takes up a little bit more desk space, right? But I think it's going to be all right. Anyway, we shall test this more. It has this bail, tilt bail. I don't know how it works, but oh, look, so you can set up like that. Okay, so that, well, how it says here, ITECH. It does look like a decent bail, but I might just get rid of it altogether. It's just taking up space on my desk. Okay, well, we shall, actually, why don't I try and do that? Right, this thing is heavy. Right, there's no easy way to get rid of this bail, I think. Or maybe I have to tilt it back down before I can actually remove it. No, it looks like I can't just yank it out. Nope, I can't just yank it out. I tried to, but it's locked in dead. The make of this thing is not the best, frankly. But let's see how good the power supply is, because I have a problem with this guy. Okay, the power supply is generally good, but there appears to be some small spikes, occasional spikes in the power supply that I have encountered. So I wonder if this is going to be any better. I'm going to hook this up to the scope and we shall see how this goes. All right, so give me a moment to set everything up. We will be back. All right, okay, we are back. As you can see, I made some progress here. Turns out you have to turn this at such an angle, because there's like an arrow here. You probably can't see that too clearly in the camera, but there's also an arrow you can't really see that unless you start pulling out and look at the angle. You find that there's another matching arrow. If you get it just at the right angle, you'll be able to pull this out. You have to stretch it a bit, and you know, this whole thing does come off. So the tilting bail comes off, and it's off now. I'm happy about that. If you notice, I've also pulled the plastic off. You take out this knob, just pull it off, rip off the plastic and put it back. I'm one of those guys who don't particularly like plastic. You can see I've got a drill set up here just as a kind of load, just to see how this thing goes. Now this fan is actually not as loud as my old power supply, the Instack power supply, but this one, it does make quite a bit of noise. So it has a little bit of startup time. It takes a shorter time to get started than that. That takes quite a bit longer actually. I should show you what this looks like if to get this started. All right, 3, 2, 1, here we go. So it's going through all that process. It's still starting, you're still waiting. That's when it gets started, right? This guy, you look at this here, it actually gets on this business a little bit more quickly. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, bam, it's on. Okay, so now I also, well, it's actually written here, but you know, who reads this stuff anyway? But the third channel is actually limited to 5 volts. Internally, you can set it to 6 volt as a limit, but the rating is really for 5 volts at 3 amps. So they are all 3 ampere channels, but this channel maximum 6 volts. The third channel maximum 6 volts. I've also discovered that you can actually turn each channel on individually. Now for my GW Instack power supply, it's all 3 channels on or all 3 channels off. Now it's the same with that one. They're all 3 ampere channels. Same thing with the third channel is also limited to 5 volts. You'll notice this is a very low profile power supply. So I think it might be using a toroidal transformer compared to the old one, which is actually a good thing. All right, so quite a few nifty features I discovered about this, but let's just, this is 9.6 volt drill, so let's set the voltage. Now I could use this to set the voltage, right? And I could say 9.6 volts because this is just way too slow. It's good for trimming. So you've got 9. Or I can just use this button here sets the voltage for channel 1, for channel 2. So you can directly choose to set the voltage or the current. You can turn on and off the channels individually, which I think is quite nice. There's an escape button here in case you've set something. So let's say we've got setting something and then you don't want that. You hit the escape button and it gets you out of that. All right. So let's turn on just channel number 1. So it says here 3.1 amps, which is the maximum the channel can deliver. I press the, oh wait, why is the output 0? Okay, let's set the output. Sorry, escape. Let's let me think for a while. How do I set this output? Channel, turn that on. That's right. So I turn on the channel. It says now 9.599 volts. So the moment I press this, the voltage drops to nearly 1 volt. You probably can't see it too clearly, but it's 1 volt and it's 3.1 amps. All right, so I can do this forever. The fan is not speeding up, so that's good. All right, so that's as much as you can get. So the current limit gets the constant current, I guess. Well, I guess you can call it current limit kicks in. Now this guy is interesting because you remember in the menu we saw they had this configuration that says I can parallel the output, and if you go into it, it says I can parallel channel 1 and 2, 1 and 3, 2 and 3, or all of it. Now I don't want to parallel all the channels, although I could, but because this third channel is limited to 6 volts, and if I try and parallel everything, then I can't get higher than 6 volts. So let me just try parallel, make channels 1 and 2 parallel, or paralleling channels 1 and 2 like so. I hit enter. So now I don't have to add any sort of jumpers or anything. It's internally parallel, I think. So let's get back out here to the menu. It's pretty, oh, I can just escape out the menu. That's great. Okay, so now I've got the same thing set. Let's see what voltage do I have set. Let's turn this off. Channel, turn it off, turn it on. Okay, so I don't have a voltage set, so now I have to separately set the voltage for channel 1. Let's make it 9.6 volts and enter. So that's 9.6 volts now. Turning on the channel, the limit is 6.2 amps now. So if I press this now, oh wait, it still says 3 amps. Why doesn't it go to 6.2 amps? Let's have a look. Yep, 6.2 amps. Maybe I do have to jumper the channels then. We could do that. Oh wait, it is. Look at that. That's strange, right? So now it's limiting at the voltage doesn't drop to 1 volt. It goes down to 5 volts and the current is 6.2 amps. This is really nifty, although it's a little bit quirky because I'm pretty sure I didn't do anything different. I've got it on video so I can check it, but so here you go. It's running 5 volts, 6.2 amps parallel. So if I need, say, something like 5 volts, I could parallel all 3 channels and get a maximum 9 amperes output. Okay, let me feel this. Yeah, it's still running really cool. It's not even warm at all. Okay, so this is, well, it's not too bad. I checked it on the scope. Frankly, it looks cleaner than the GW Instax. So it's a little bit longer, but it's low profile. So I'm going to try and put it in place of the old one. I wish the fan was a little bit softer. It wasn't so noisy, but I guess physics is physics. All right, a couple of things I might want to do. I might make some modifications. I would love it that if this thing had some sort of easier way to, well, if it's like speed, you know, you go faster and it moves more, but right now it doesn't do that, right? So if I go to, oh wait, let's escape that. Let's try and set the voltage. So if I set voltage, right now it's in the 10 millivolt range, so it'll move, well, I guess reasonable. How do I get it out to another? Yeah, I can use the cursors to maybe move it to a different setting, I suppose. And you can hear the clicking. So there are taps actually. Where does it click? Somewhere between 8 volts and 9 volts. There's a tap, and then if I keep somewhere between, let's see what, 15 and 16 volts, there's a tap. There's a little bit of hysteresis there. 25 volts, another tap, and that's it. So there are several taps it goes through. Very interesting. Now, frankly, I haven't seen any reviews of this unit on the internet, and I had looked for it, but I didn't see any of it. And this might be the only review of this thing. I suppose I should open this thing up, but I'm not terribly keen on doing that just yet, unless there's demand for it. If there's enough of you want to see me open this thing up, then I might just do that. But other than that, I'm going to put this in place and we'll see how it performs in the long run. Alright, well, that's the IT6322. I got it off AliExpress, and I still have a couple of features I need to find out, but overall I'm quite happy with it. I like it that you can turn individual channels on and off, right? So let me see, escape that. That I could, for example, I could turn just channel 3 on without turning on the other channels. I think that's really nice, because with the old one I couldn't do that. So I had to make sure that, you know, everything was disconnected before I hit the output activation. Now with this one I don't have to do that, but the interface takes a little bit of getting used to. But you know what, this is a power supply, right? I do wish it was a little bit more intuitive, but it looks nice, and I hope it lasts. I thought I'd also add this little bit here. As you can see, I've put it in place, and now I'm running the trend plot on the DMM. On the output, I've set the output to about 5 millivolts, and I must say that the output of this power supply is very stable down to even the millivolt range. So I'm really quite pleased with that, and it's accurate as well. But you can see over the 20 minutes I've been running this thing, there has been a very slight drift, less than 0.1 millivolt for sure, but there is that just a very slight drift. And actually what I'm trying to say is that this is very good. I didn't expect this good performance, because obviously it's running warmer, partly because there's a temperature control oscillator in the multimeter, so this is running a little bit warm, and it's warming up everything else around that. So it runs pretty good. Look at that. So the other thing that I liked about this, so I just wanted to see the trend, and I'm quite pleased with this output, is I want you to see this is 5 volts, and it's actually reading that. And I found that I could actually increment this. That's 1 millivolt increment. It's actually very, very accurate, right? It's about 0.3 millivolt low, but if I get all the way up to, say, let's make it 40 millivolts, look at that. It's actually very good, and that means that I can use this for calibration tests, for example. Well, not really high quality calibration tests, but still, if I'm not requiring very high precision, then this actually could work quite well. I remember using this with the other power supply from Instack, and there was quite a lot of noise, especially in the low voltage range. So I'm actually quite happy about this. I'm still trying to get used to the noise of the fan. It fits in nicely. The dimensions match this a little bit. It comes out a little bit longer, but other than that, that's a very good thing. I could run more. I could run stuff like that, statistics, and you can see that it does have a little bit of noise and a little bit of variation, but all in all, not too bad. Okay, so I'm really pleased with this thing, and if I have anything else interesting, I will report it. But currently, it's been quite good. I haven't figured out how to use the recall, and I must say that the grouping of these banana sockets are a little bit close. It's alright if you've got banana jacks to plug into this, but if you are trying to use the screw-on as I was doing here, you may find it a touch cramped, trying to get the wires down in there and then pulling it out. So I will be making a bunch of banana cables. This one attaches through a little bit of a what do you call that now? It's like how the word escapes me right now. A tab. It's got a tab that goes behind the this, and this will it come out all the way? No, it will not come out all the way, so that's good. You won't be losing that. It comes out halfway, and then it stops. So that's pretty good so far. I do wish that, for example, in this case, channels 2 and 3, they are not active. I wish it would actually show the set voltage, so I know, like this, for this channel, I wouldn't know what it's set to. I would have to, let's see, what would I have to do? I would have to go to set voltage for second channel, and then now it says 3.3 volts, right? So if I leave it alone for a while, or let's say I hit escape, right, then that's showing the measured voltage. It will actually measure the voltage at this point. For example, if, by the way, these are isolated, right? Let me see if I can show that. Okay, let's forget this. Let's go into continuity mode. So the ground, okay, that's connected, but the grounds are all isolated. So they are basically 3 completely isolated power supplies. I like that. That's important because there are situations where you might want to do that, or you may want to have a plus minus voltage. So all this works beautifully. So that's good. Okay, I'm going to go edit this video, and you shall see it on YouTube.